Okay, Dave, so moving on to web and the way you've seen websites develop over the years. Obviously, the rise of mobile has meant that websites, well, have to be nowadays mobile optimized. But how have you seen companies, certainly in Australia and around the world, start to use websites in a very different way for lead generation, for pixeling and understanding their audience?
Yeah, well, the biggest thing that we've seen as the webs begin to evolve, there's just more and more attention on the internet. As you said, people are jumping on their mobiles, so that's happening more frequently. They're having a look on their desktop. So as more and more people start to use a platform, that's when the marketers come in because the attention is on a particular space. So what that's done is just started to evolve the web as marketers are getting more sophisticated with the different tools that they're using. Particularly, there's a lot of development around things like marketing automation that has very much changed the way that marketing happens online because you can really monitor the activities that someone are taking and then tailor a response in your marketing based on what it is that they're actually doing. So that's, there's been huge developments in that. There's, the video that we touched on, autoresponders, which kind of falls into your marketing automation. And I think what makes digital very different from a lot of the other mediums is the visibility, the ability to really get a very clear picture by looking at your analytics and tracking, understanding conversion, understanding different lead sources, so you know at what cost different lead sources are converting at. All of this really has just kept on boosting it forward, and that evolution as the market has just try and find more ways to make this to monetize this attention that's going online.
Yeah, I think that audience and the understanding of your audience, like you say, that the way you can actually measure all the actions they take as they visit your sites, and the same on social. I think the social platforms give you even more data about your audience than you do on your website. But do you think that combination has made marketers laser target all the messages across, so you know you're relevant to the people you want to be reading or watching or consuming your
Yeah, look,
content?
I think that's probably as a market gets more and more mature. So if you look to certain industries, I mean, you've got some good experience in the racing industry, myself in the stock market industry, very competitive spaces. You'll find the marketers just need to be better.
Yeah.
So you can still find underwater basket weaving
Mm.
courses that probably they haven't got very good tailoring right down to that very specific segment because they can be more general because it's not necessarily as competitive. So it really depends on how competitive an industry is, and then over time we've just found online getting more and more competitive and certain industries even more so, and that's where you're starting to see that's required because the more that you can segment, the more that you can understand about an individual target market, and the more that you can tailor a message to that specific person, you're going to increase the conversion
Yeah.
rate.
Yeah.
So you need to do that in very competitive spaces because if you're not doing it, your competition is, which means they're probably going to have a lower cost to acquire that lead. So that's kind of really what drives it.
Mm. And I think from content, I mean, something you talk about quite a lot is once you understand that market as well and understand what the competition are doing and what people are engaging with, it's the whole content circle becomes a lot less shotgun approach of just throwing content out there and hoping people engage with it. You can practically plan out, that people engage with this, they like to see this. And I think that's the other thing we've certainly tried to instill into our clients is that, that market research and understanding your audience and who you're trying to appeal to, it makes everything you say far more relevant to them. And then that trust and authority that you talk about comes far easier than it ever has, I think, in any form of marketing. I don't think anything will ever replace this. You could never do this in print.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's one of the reasons, as far as the strategy, you mentioned authority content, the book before. When I wrote something, I wanted to make sure that it's something that would really stand the test of time. Creating great quality content that your audience is interested in is never going to date. Maybe some of the platforms will change as far as where you're syndicating that content, but as long as attention is somewhere and you're able to put something in front of that audience, your target market, it's going to work, till the end of days. It's just marketing 101.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, as a strategy, you really can't go wrong with it.
Hmm. And what about email? Do you think email's still got life in it? Do you think good email marketers will always do well? Or I know that there was, the open rates are going down and down and down, and people are going to SMS and text messaging because the open rates were better. But I still think that, if it's relevant messages, again, back to the relevant content, then email's still got a place in marketing.
For sure. I think it's just different mediums, depending on how much attention they're getting, the marketers will remove more quickly into something. And then when they move into it very quickly, then oftentimes there's a guy actually, his name's Gary Vaynerchuk, a marketer I've heard, and he says that marketers ruin everything. That's one of his quotes. And it's that idea that, all the marketers move in and then they just go to the point of exploiting that platform. There you go. Yeah, there you go. Good timing.
Yeah.
And it's the same with email. Like over time, it was a very effective tool. We're seeing it drop, but I think it's just one tool in the arsenal, and part of it comes down to delivering value. Like if I'm still getting an email from my mum or a good friend, and it comes through, I'm going to read that email, and part of that is because I know who it's coming from. I'm interested in what they're saying. So similarly, if you make sure that your message is interesting to your target audience, then you're still going to get open rates, and I think it's part of a well-rounded strategy. You can't just rely on that, but I think it should be one of those tools in the tool belt.
Yeah. So it's something that you still actively do, is it? Build email lists of very relevant audiences that you can market to. Yeah.
And now I play a little game with myself. One thing that I love doing is I love sending out emails to my list where I'll write them in a way that the person really feels as though it's been written to them personally.
Yeah.
Like that's something that I'll often do. I put my mind in their shoes. Imagine it's myself opening up their email and wondering, would that grab their attention? And I love to write emails that get personal replies back, and then I'll reply personally to it. But it's a bit of a challenge in this noisy marketplace to have someone go, oh yeah, there's a real connection there, and that's what I try and do with email.
Yeah, I think I've noticed that about you over the years, and I think Gary Vee's the same. You mentioned him, but he says he always tries to be the person who answers a tweet, or if there's a message sent to him, he deliberately, even though he knows it's not scalable, this whole one-to-one thing, he says the ongoing process of them telling their friends that he actually answered it personally. And I've noticed it with yourself over the years. I must admit that they are written in a very casual, friendly type manner, a lot of your emails. Unless they've got a specific message that you're trying to get across. But I think the rest, and it does re-engage people. I might not talk to you for a year, and then suddenly I think I must catch up with Dave. So it does work. So other things on the web then. How have you seen mobile affect websites yourself? I know in Australia that you talked about there's been a lot of movement towards optimizing. Is there any other areas you've seen mobile, the effect of mobile really affect website design?
Yeah, as a general rule, and the mantra is that everybody seems to preach is mobile first. For me personally, I probably haven't embraced it as much as I should. For example, we're working on this program, this software at the moment, and the responsiveness of it is not ideal. We're just reworking it at the moment. So we didn't lead with a mobile website yet. I think it really needs to be at the forefront. I think when we look at it from an SEO perspective, things like the speed of the website, the technical usability on mobile, like the way it actually does respond, like it has affected everything in the way that people are consuming information, because it's a new device, it's a new sized screen, and that's just changing those consumption habits. So you got to be on top of it. It really does need to be responsive first, mobile first.
That's fantastic. All right, let's move on to social media in the next section, if that's okay, Dave.
Yep, sounds good.